Oh, it's a great pleasure to be joined by Paige Penney. She is a brilliant young singer-songwriter, musician from St. John, Newfoundland. How are you, Paige? And thank you for joining this
Good.
show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So I should like to begin by talking about your latest single, which you recently released a music video. I
Yeah,
listened to it minutes before starting this program, and I like it a lot. Fingers
awesome.
crossed, that's the name of the single.
Fingers crossed, yeah. So we recorded, I just released the music video and the song this year. So I wrote it with my dad, me and my dad, Penney. We co-write a lot together. So we
Mhm.
co-wrote this song called Fingers Crossed together while we were in Hawaii a couple years ago. And it was really cool because we actually bought a ukulele down there because obviously you're in Hawaii, and we learned the ukulele at the same time as we were writing the song on the ukulele, and we came up with Fingers Crossed.
Mhm. Yeah. Tell me about the inspiration behind the song's lyrics.
Yeah, so one of the lyrics in the song are in my mind, we're standing on a beach in December. And it was just really, we were looking around, we were on a beach writing the song. So we were really just looking at what was around us and just the beauty of Hawaii and putting all of what we saw and what we felt into the song. And we were kind of imagining of like a first kind of love, like two people would be on the beach together, and just really good memories of that.
Mhm. Great. Yeah. How was Hawaii, by the way? I've never been.
Oh, it was beautiful. We went to Maui, which it was gorgeous, and we went to Kihei Beach, and it was just such a great experience. The weather, of course, was amazing, and there's just so many things are inspirational there for music because it's
Mhm.
just gorgeous. And yeah, so when I did my music video, that was when we went back to Hawaii for a second time to film the music video there. So the first time we wrote the song, and the second time we filmed the music video for the song there.
Yeah. And so when was this?
Yeah, so we wrote the song in 2020. I think it was right before the pandemic
Wow.
happened. So yeah, maybe 2019, late 2019. And then we went back this past March to do the music video and enjoy Hawaii again.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to do it once more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about growing up in St. John's, Newfoundland. Again, I've never
Yeah.
been. I've been to Canada before, but you know.
Cool. Yeah. Newfoundland is it's beautiful. It's St. John's, Newfoundland is we have a lot of it's a really musical city. We have a lot of folk music here, and I think the whole island really, because we're on an island, we all have a love for music, which is great because I'm a musician and I'm so lucky to have grown up in a place where it's really appreciated.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm guessing both of your parents are pretty musical people.
Yeah, so my dad is a songwriter, as I said earlier, and my mom is actually she sings as well, plays bass, and they're both really musical, and I'm lucky to have grown up in a place where music is appreciated.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm guessing you grew up with music around you quite a lot. So yeah, do you remember the first song or the first record that really got your attention, really impressed you?
Yeah, well, I gotta say, growing up, my dad was always playing music, so I was always listening to his like he would write songs and I would listen to him. But I think my first like, whoa, I wanna write songs like that was when I heard Taylor Swift's
Hmm.
album. I think it was like Love Story. I was really young. I was about 7 years old, and I learned how to play that on the guitar. And that was when I was like, I love this music, and I want to make music like that.
Yeah. Was it the lyrics or the music that caught your attention? Yeah, sorry.
I think it was I'd say the lyrics
Mhm.
definitely, because Taylor did a great job at, relating to young people, and I was so young at the time, and just listening to her music really captivated me.
Mhm. Yeah, I think your mom, Leanne, that's her name. She
Yeah.
she's your manager as well. She mentioned that
Yeah.
you recorded your first EP extended play at Nashville in the same studio that I'm guessing Taylor Swift recorded her album in. Which album was it?
Yeah.
Taylor's album.
So she recorded her debut album,
I see.
self-titled album, Taylor Swift, in Dark Horse Recording. So, yeah, when I was 13, I had enough songs to record an EP,
Hmm.
and I really wanted to make a big first album, you know. So I started an Indiegogo campaign to raise funds to go to Nashville because I'm
Hmm.
from St. John's, Newfoundland, so it's kind of the trot down to Nashville. Um, but I raised some funds, and we ended up getting to the goal that we wanted. And it was with the help of our community. Like everyone was pitching in, and the word really got out about the campaign. And we just raised enough funds to go down to Nashville and record in the same studio where Taylor recorded in, which was an absolute dream. Her platinum record was on the wall and right next to where I was recording. Really cool.
Hmm. Can you remind us what the name of that EP was?
Yeah, so that EP is called Watch Out for Your Step.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
there's a song in there that bears the same title too. Um, yeah, yeah, it was a
Yes.
six track EP, and yeah, I thought it was good too. Yeah, what was it like recording in a studio, particularly that studio?
Yeah, so what was really cool was I worked with some session players there at the
Hmm.
studio. So they were hired, but the cool thing is they worked with many amazing artists, like famous artists and talented artists. Some of the players had worked with Kelly Clarkson and Casey Musgraves. So having these like amazingly talented superstars working with you was something I will never forget, and I learned so much from them. And I just had an amazing experience, really. And the whole studio, the vibe there. If you look up Dark Horse Recording, you'll see the layout. It's really on a farm. It's in this farmhouse, and it's gorgeous, and you just have so much inspiration around you.
Yeah, yeah, it must have been quite amazing for, I think you were 13 at that time, visiting.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
was 13. Yeah, I was 13 when I recorded it, and 14 when the EP came out.
Hmm. And you were in Nashville, which is, the capital of Americana and country music, which
Yeah,
I'm sure it must have been, again, quite overwhelming and mesmerizing.
yeah, it was so crazy. I actually played at the Bluebird Cafe while I was there,
Hmm.
and the Bluebird Cafe is it's the Bluebird Cafe. Everyone wants to play there, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to play there on my last day in Nashville.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, it was just knowing that so many amazing artists have played on that stage before was a great feeling. And everyone who goes to the Bluebird Cafe to watch, they just love music so much, and they're there for the music, which was a pretty amazing experience.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, you said Taylor Swift inspired you to sing and to write songs. Yeah, tell me about the first songs that you've sung or you've written.
Yeah, so I gotta go way back. I mean, I've been like writing little melodies ever since I could talk, really, because again, my family was really musical. So
Hmm.
me and my dad would write little silly songs all the time, and we'd go to the studio. We had a studio, and we'd even if they were just silly little songs that I as a 5 year old would write, we'd record them and we'd have a great time.
Hmm.
Um, I mean that leads to when you write so much when you're young, it just leads to you get better and better, and then we can write actual songs that we put on an album.
Hmm. Yeah, again, you've mentioned that your parents are pretty musical people. I wonder what instruments do they play?
Yeah, so my dad plays the guitar, the bass,
Hmm.
a bit of drums sometimes. I think that's what I'm remembering right at the moment. Um, and my mom plays bass, guitar,
Hmm.
and she sings well. Um, and then so that's what they played, and I play a bit of a bit of everything. So I play the piano, the guitar, trumpet, banjo. Um, I sing, and there's maybe one more, and the ukulele. Yeah, so a bit of it all, really.
So, which among those instruments was do you remember was the most difficult to learn?
Difficult to learn. Hmm. I think I'm really comfortable with strings because learning the banjo was kind of similar to the guitar with string instruments there. But the trumpet was really something that it
Mhm.
wasn't my like for my music. I learned it in the school band. So I learned it in school band. So it's definitely different than it's a different way of learning. You play in a band and you learn differently that way. So I think just because I wasn't used to it that much as my other instruments, that would probably be a more difficult one but I'd love to incorporate the trumpet into my own music sometime, which would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. I look forward to doing that. I know that you have a new album coming out next year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now I've been writing with some really cool people, and got some writing appointments booked and recording appointments booked for this new album, and it's I'm really excited about it. I was working on a song last night for it. It's called Nothing Lasts,
Mhm.
and I wrote this song with Chris Kirby, who's an amazing singer-songwriter. So he has a feature on the album, a co-write feature. So yeah, it's just amazing like co-writes on this album and collaborations. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, tell me about school band. I know that, I didn't go to school in Canada, so we didn't have such a thing as that. So yeah.
Yeah, so in Canada, I don't know what it's like in other provinces, but in my province, in grade 5, each kid can join a school band. So you can choose out of 5 instruments, I think. You can choose saxophone, flute, trumpet,
Mhm.
percussion, trombone. Maybe I'm missing one. Oh, and clarinet. So you
Mhm.
can choose out of those instruments. And then from grade 5 until grade 12, really, there's always an opportunity to be in the school concert band or jazz band. And you can actually get graded. You can use it as a music credit for school. So that's what I did. And so yeah, I've been playing the trumpet since grade 5, and I just graduated grade 12. So yeah,
Yeah, congratulations.
thank you.
So I'm guessing it's university college next for you.
Yeah, so I'm taking a year to really work on my music, which is get this new album on the go. I've gotten some funding for the new album, which is
Mhm.
really exciting. I'm gonna definitely be making some really cool music videos and really working on this album. And I definitely do want to attend university, take a couple courses for sure.
Mhm. That's good. So going back to your parents, I wonder if their music tastes, do they share the same musical preferences, or do they differ in that?
Yeah, well, I think there's a generation thing, sometimes they like music that I don't know, I wouldn't listen to all the time, but again, they show me things that I wouldn't find on my own, and then I learn to love it. And same for me, I show them music that they wouldn't find, on the daily thing, and I show them new things, and they show me old things, and kind of trade off, which is really cool.
Yeah. What would be an example of of, say, an artist or recording that you discovered from your parents, via your parents? Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a cover of Edge of 17, Stevie Nicks.
Oh, cool.
This year for my 17th birthday. And yeah, that's something my mom showed me. She showed me that song a couple years back, Um, but she was like, "Man, you should cover this sometime. It's a great
Mhm.
song." And I was like, "Yeah, it is a really great song." So I listened to that and then ended up doing a cover of it with my band.
Awesome. Yeah, I love to hear it. Yeah, Stevie Nicks is an extraordinary singer, songwriter,
Yeah.
voice. But again, going back to that question, I meant to ask whether your parents, like between your parents, do they share the same music taste, or do they differ? Like, do they
Oh,
listen to
both of
different?
them? Yeah, I think they share the same music taste.
Mhm.
Um Yeah, I think they do. I mean, they grew up in around the same time, and they kinda, like, have those throwback songs, that they both love and know. But I think it's because they also met when they were 19, so they kinda they've been sharing music for a long time now, like 25 years, so they kinda have the same taste, I'd say, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, tell me about how your mom came to be, your manager. How's that dynamic work?
Yeah, yeah, so I'm so grateful to have a mom who's, like, so invested in, my music career, which is amazing. And yeah, so being a musician it's a lot of work. You have to
Mhm.
write, record, you have to perform, and there's people behind the scenes, right? There's the person at the front, but there's so much happening in the background, and I just can't imagine doing that as one person. It's crazy, but I'm so lucky to have a mom who's been helping out with everything and managing the things behind the scenes, which really as an artist, you're like, oh, I just want to work on the music, so it's great I can do that and have someone behind the scenes working.
Awesome. Yeah, I should thank your mom for bringing us together. Um,
Yeah, thank you, mom.
Thank you, Leanne. That's her first name.
Yes.
Um, so it reminds me of, I believe you were nominated for the second time for the Canadian Folk Music Awards this year.
Yeah.
And because I run this musical podcast, I got to know a few of the nominees. One of them is
Well,
I think she's 15 now, the fiddler, Irish Millie. I presume you've met her.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've been friends for some time before that, but I was glad that she was nominated. And I know that her mom, as well as her dad, her parents, who supported her in her music, work. Um, I think her mom did the managing duties, the same as your mom, as well as your her dad.
Yeah.
Her dad shares the stage with her. They are touring, I guess, the country of Denmark as we speak. And
Oh,
I'm very
cool.
proud of her, and I'm very happy that she got such a lovely and supportive family. So back to you. Yeah, tell me about that. How does having a lovely supportive family play into you having a such a remarkable music career at a very young
Yeah.
age?
Well, yeah, it's been amazing because this having that support can is really inspirational, and it just reminds me to keep working hard, especially having two parents, one on the managing side, which is a whole other story than the music side, but then having a dad who's a musician and a songwriter is really good to bounce off ideas in the artist world, which is it's great to have two people on different sides of the music business supporting you. It's great to have different opinions, and just the support is really helpful.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned that this latest single of yours, "Fingers Crossed," you wrote it with your dad. Um, so
Yeah.
so do you write songs with your father often?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We do write songs often together. I kind of grew up just writing with him, and um, as I grew older, we just kept on writing together and recording together. I'm actually in our studio right now. So yeah, we've been doing it for a long time, and it's kind of just a habit now.
Mhm. Yeah, show us a studio. This is, I guess, a
Yeah,
privilege granted to those watching video rather than audio, but nevertheless, show us the visual of
yeah.
where the magic happens, as they say.
I Where the magic happens. I'm gonna try and not I'm gonna try and move this so the camera doesn't fall.
Uh-huh.
But right now this is what we got. You can kind of see that. This is our
Hmm.
little the computer and stuff. And behind you, I can't really show you it because the camera will fall and I won't really be able to work that again. But there's a booth with some soundproof walls, which is cool. So we're actually in my house, so it's just in the basement, which is awesome just to have a little room to go into whenever
Mhm.
inspiration strikes, just it's a couple feet away. Come
Mm,
on down.
yeah. So tell me about the process in which you and your dad write write those songs together.
Yeah, so writing songs is like it's different every time. Sometimes we start off with title, and then work our way from there. Sometimes I'll have an idea that I come up with and I'll bring it to him and we work on that together. Or sometimes he shows me a song that he was working on and he wants me to join in on. Um, so yeah, the song we were working on last night, Nothing Lasts. I What happened with that song was I was just banging on the piano by myself and I came up with the song and but there was always missing something. It was always missing something. So I brought it to my dad and we started working on it more together. Um, and we were still like, this is missing something again. So then we started to work with Chris Kirby, who's an amazing songwriter, and he got in on it. And then we felt like, oh my goodness, it's ready now. It feels complete. So yeah, that's just an example of one of the processes.
Mhm. Yeah. Again, if you didn't notice, that was my cat. I had to let her out. So yeah, just so it happens to coincide with my next question, which is, do you have pets in your house, and do you like animals?
Yes, I love animals. So I do have a dog. His name is Maximus.
Hmm.
We call him Max for short. He's a border collie mixed with a husky, and he's only a year old, so he's still a puppy and he's very energetic.
Hmm. Oh, since we're talking pets, her name is Sushi. My mom named her that.
Oh,
Yeah, she can be, a pain in the head at times, but not most of the
yeah,
time. Especially
yeah,
in her first few months of staying in the house, she can be a pain because she was not accustomed to the new home. So there's that.
yeah. That's funny. My friend actually has a cat named Sushi as well.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. Her name's Emily. Um, I've met her cat before, and Sushi. I think Sushi's the one. She has a couple cats, and I think Sushi's the one who's always hiding.
Oh, yeah. Mine, yeah, Sushi. My cat Sushi is the one who's hiding too. Anyone who's not part of, the household, the family, yeah, she's hiding from them,
Yeah,
all of them. Um, tell me about more about how Taylor Swift influenced your sound and I guess your life altogether. I've not followed much of Taylor Swift's recent career path. I know that she's re-recording some of her records. Um, yeah, so tell me about it. I
yeah,
presume you follow her career with much more interest than I am.
yeah. So when I was 9 years old. Yeah, for my ninth birthday, I got tickets to go see Taylor in Nashville.
Mhm.
This was my first time in Nashville. So me and my dad went together. Um, and we were so excited, and it was for her Red Tour.
Yep.
So while we were in Nashville, we stayed like right in the city, and well, my dad's a songwriter, so he actually had songwriting appointments while I was
Mm.
there. And so since it was just us there, he would bring me along because you can't really leave a 9-year old alone. So he'd bring me to his songwriting appointments, and I just remember sitting there and watching how it all worked, and I was just sitting there in the appointment watching it go down, which definitely had some impact on me as a
Mhm.
songwriter, getting to be in a room at such a young age. Um, so yeah, that was a part of the trip. But I also that trip we went to see Taylor Swift, which was mind blowing because it was her last tour. It was her last concert of the tour because it was in Nashville and she was ending it off there. And
Mhm.
I just remember watching her stage presence and watching like the effort and everything. She put her all into each song, and I was just like, I want to do that. This is what I want to do. I want to perform like that, and I loved how she was performing her own songs too, which was
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah. Which one of her songs would you say are your favorites?
Oh man, that's probably the hardest question. Um, hmm, gotta think about that one. I really love her new album, uh, not newest, but her newer one, Folklore. I love that new album. It's really, really well written. Cardigan is such a amazing song. I gotta say Lover. Lover is a song I cover a lot off
Mhm.
the title track of her album Lover. It's just it's I think it's a perfect song. It's beautiful and the rhythm, it's great. And another one, I could name Taylor Swift songs forever, but I think Style off of her 1989 album is just
Mhm.
really awesome and got a great bass line to it, which I like.
Yeah, yeah, I remember, yeah, when I was 14 or 15, that song came out, and back then, my TV could still catch MTV, and yeah, that song was playing at least once a day, along with
Yeah,
a bunch of other Taylor albums, Taylor songs from that album. I think it was Blank Space was part of that album,
yeah,
I think, and
yeah, that's another good one, Blank Space. I love that one.
mhm.
I every album really is a favorite. I can't choose.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I know that well, I know that for me, she stopped doing country after 2012, after that album Red. Uh,
Mhm.
so do you have a preference between, say, her country music era and her pop music era? I know that she's returned to doing more
Yeah,
like acoustic stuff now, but yeah.
I gotta say, I think I like her country and acoustic style a lot, but um, I think Red is probably one of my favorite albums if I had to choose, and
Mhm,
because she got that pop kind of sound in there as well as the country, so I think
mhm,
the mix of both of that is really what I enjoy the most. Because yeah, I really like just hearing the guitar part. Not too poppy, but it's still got that upbeat vibe to it.
mhm. Allow me to play a bit of a connect the dots game because I know that uh, Taylor Swift has an album that followed her debut album, Fearless. I believe that's the title of the album, right? Yeah, which I'm presuming
Yeah.
you are a big fan of. In one of those songs, one of the artists
Oh
featured
yeah.
was a woman named Kobe Calais. I finally learned how to pronounce her last name. She was pretty famous in 2005 because of her song named Bubbly. And her father is Ken Calais, who produced some of Fleetwood Mac's most successful albums.
Oh cool.
And therefore, we get to Stevie Nicks. So there's a much deeper connection between your parents' music taste and your own. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it kind of all blends in together.
mhm. Yeah. How do your parents view Taylor Swift?
Oh yeah, they love her.
Mm,
They love Taylor Swift, and I kind of made them love Taylor Swift, and they kind of made me love Taylor Swift because well, they're the ones who showed me her really because I didn't have I was what 8 years old, and it was very much I had an iPod I think, and but when I had an iPod like I wasn't like they were the ones showing like downloading games or downloading music. Like it wasn't because I was so young, they were kind of monitoring it all and they
yeah.
so I think the ones who downloaded Taylor Swift on my iPod because I was in guitar lessons and they were like, listen to this girl and maybe you can learn some of her songs in your guitar lessons. So I remember I think it was Love Story they downloaded on my phone
Mhm.
and I memorized all the words and then took it to my guitar teacher and I was like, I want to learn this on the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, you've said about how when you were 9 years old, you saw Taylor Swift live in Nashville. I'm assuming it must have been a really large venue with a very packed crowd. Was it your first time?
Yeah. It was
Yeah, was it your first time seeing someone perform live on stage like that?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that was my first concert. I might have seen I've been to I remember I was to 2, like, huge concerts like that when I was younger.
Hmm.
Um, Taylor Swift, which was at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and Selena Gomez, which I
Oh, wow.
seen live in, Toronto,
Hmm.
Scotiabank Arena, I believe. So I'm not sure which one. I think the Taylor Swift concert came first, if I'm not mistaken. But I but those Selena Gomez was another one of my big I really loved her acting when I was little, and I loved how she also did music, so that's another concert I've seen.
Hmm. Yeah, she was in a Disney Channel TV show, Wizards of Waverly Place. And I remember when I was like probably 8 or 9, I would watch that show routinely whenever it comes on. And that, and along with other, pretty cheesy Disney shows, is how I learned English. And it's not my first language. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's
That's awesome.
mhm. Yeah. I know that Selena, she now does more singing than acting, but I know that she does a couple of pretty good acting roles, and that I should probably pay attention to. Right.
Yeah,
Right. She does. She
yeah,
recently has a show with Steve Martin and Martin Short, right?
yeah, I've heard of that.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I love Steve Martin. Um, so, tell me about your first time performing live, as in you as on the center of the stage, watched by people who are not your family.
Yeah, I was I started how I started performing was the first time I ever performed was with my choir, Shalloway. So this youth choir here in Newfoundland, uh, award-winning choir, and they start off from 7 years old to grade 12, so you're 18 years old. So I actually just graduated from them this year, but that was my first performance with them, and I had a solo, and I sang a solo for it was one of the Sound of Music songs, and that was my first time. There was probably 1,000 people in the crowd, and
Wow.
I sang that this as a little girl with the solo, and that was probably when I was 7. And but my first actual Paige Penney performance with the guitar and the songs, I was probably I'd say 9 years
Hmm.
old, and it was at the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Festival here in St. John's. And there was the main stage, and then there was a few other stages. And I was playing on the Neil Murray stage, which is a youth stage.
Hmm.
And so I played there. I think it was a 15-minute set. So it was only 4 songs, which now it seems so little because I do 2 hour sets sometimes.
Hmm.
But it was a 15-minute set, and it was at the end of August. So I remember that whole summer I would practice every single day for this show, and it was amazing. And that's how I kind of fell in love with performing.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, so we talk about how, seeing live concerts. So because COVID has opened up, have you seen any great live concerts lately?
I I've seen live concerts in my hometown. I actually seen one Saturday night. I seen Matchbox 20,
Oh, wow.
um, which they're a great band. They came to my hometown and at the Churchill Park Music Festival. So it was a last minute decision to go see them, but it was one of the first big concerts I've been to in a long time, and it was just so great to see everyone dancing around and singing along. So that was awesome.
Mhm. Is Rob Thomas still performing with them now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I seen him. He was awesome.
mhm. Yeah, I know him because back in the year '99, he has that really great hit single with Carlos Santana, "Smooth." 1999
Oh,
was
yes.
my birth year. So it was one of the notable songs of my birth year. I guess if I could fling that topic to you, what's a great song that was released in your birth year?
My birth year. I'm not sure what songs were released in my birth year. Do you mind if I do a little quick Google search?
Yeah, yeah, we can pause our
Uh,
record just a bit. Right. So,
So yeah, a song released in my birth year. So I'm born in 2004,
mhm.
and a song released in my birth year was "Toxic" by Britney Spears,
Oh wow.
and so that that's obviously a big hit, and so that's just funny to know that Britney was singing that when I was just born.
Mhm. Right. With the taste of your lips, I'm on a ride, right?
Yeah.
That's the lyrics. Yeah. Again, I've not followed Britney Spears' career trajectory too much. I know that she recently got off this whole ordeal with her family, which
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember that being one of the few Britney songs that I really enjoy. Toxic by Britney.
Yeah.
Um, it was part of, I believe, the album was called In the Zone, and in that album, there's this great ballad. I can only remember the lyrics to it. It that I guess I'll miss you, baby, and there's this melody to it, but it'll come back to me. But yeah, so yeah, is Britney Bitch Spears another one of your musical influences?
Um, I um, I grew up. So as I said, 2004 was when she released that. So I was really young when she was releasing her music. But I do remember her music on the radio a lot, and I loved that. But her songs. One of her songs was written. A few of her songs were co-written with Max Martin,
Yeah,
who's who's
he's
an
great.
amazing songwriter, and
He's
he's
great. Yeah,
yeah, so he's had co-writes with Taylor
everyone,
Swift,
everyone.
everybody. Yeah, every single person. So when I was 12, I think. Yeah, I was doing I had a series called Max Martin covers. So I would
Mm,
cover a song that Max Martin had a co-write on. So I did a Britney Spears one. Yeah, it was Oops, I Didn't Again, I think.
mhm.
Yeah. I think that's the one I did. But I know I did one Britney song that was co-written by Max Martin. And I mean, he has songs with Pink, Taylor Swift, Bon Jovi, like
Mhm.
so many.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remembered the title of the song is Every Time. It's a piano ballad. And it's from her
Yes.
2003 album, In the Zone. And yeah, I think it was her one of her post Justin breakup song. That was what I remember.
Oh, yeah.
So back to the topic of live music. I know that for people who don't go to church, that might just be the closest thing that you can get to, a religious or church-going experience. I've growing up in Hanoi, Vietnam, is not a place where many major musicians would set as their touring destination. There's very much different in
Yeah.
Canada and Toronto, even St. John's,
Mhm.
Newfoundland. So yeah, my first live concert was actually in Toronto as I was going to Canada to study, and yeah, it was really great. It was from a lo-fi indie act, Mount Erie. You may or may not have heard of him, as well as
Cool.
Canadian singer-songwriter from, I'm guessing, Montreal, Julie Doran. And that was for me, basically a religious experience.
Yeah, that's awesome that you got to go, like, to Canada and experience those
Mhm.
artists.
Yeah. Um, so tell me about how you managed through COVID, with music performances basically shut down and such.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things in the world is performing. I love performing. So when COVID hit, I was like, "Oh my goodness, what's happening?" I was I had so many shows booked and they just got canceled,
Mhm.
rescheduled, whatever. So one thing I did that helped me through the pandemic was live streams.
Hmm.
So I would go live on Instagram and Facebook and basically just do concerts twice a week on my Instagram and Facebook. And that really, it was an amazing experience, really, because so many people were tuning in from all over the world, which normally wouldn't happen if I was just doing a concert in my hometown. So I was connecting with so many musicians from all over the world. And sometimes I would do joint live streams where me
Hmm.
and another person would do a collab on live and do a show together. So that was how me and my friend Taylin Hope met. She's a singer in Nashville. We're about the
Hmm.
same age, and during the pandemic, we would just do live streams together and connect. It was really awesome. So there was kind of a silver lining in the whole thing.
Yeah. I should say that this podcast, this show was sort of the product of the pandemic too. I had a show on Trend Radio, which is based in Peterborough, where I was studying in, and where Irish Millie came from. And when COVID hit, we we didn't have the opportunity, or we weren't sort of allowed to uh, record live in the studio, which I would often do. But we did have the option of recording a show beforehand and then sending it over to the radio station so that they can broadcast it. So this became my podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hmm. Yeah. So I hope that your family, none of you have caught the virus yet. All of you are staying healthy, and I'm guessing
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Oh yes. Yeah, we didn't get the original COVID. We got one of the variants. Unfortunately, we all were in lockdown in our house. But we were lucky no one was extremely sick from it. We got through it, but gotta say we did take really precautious measures, because it's such a scary time to be living in, especially since Newfoundland. We're an island, right? So we're like in Canada, but we're kind of off and separated. So for the longest time, we had the lowest number of cases in the country, and then I think it was last March or something, or last January, we had a spike, and it was really scary because we're on an island. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you managed through it. Now that
yeah.
COVID is over, do you look forward to all of the shows that you're going to do once your album is released?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to perform and all of that stuff. Just to tour is going to be so exciting. I actually am going to Calgary in September
Hmm.
for the Canadian Country Music Awards, which is I'm
Ah.
super excited for that. I have a showcase there
Hmm.
at the Blue Jay Sessions, which is so I'm going to meet some cool people from all over the country, and it's going to be really great. And I'm going to keep planning
Hmm.
shows all over because it's just so much fun.
Yeah. Speaking of big performing gigs, tell me about this Hollywood Bowl opening act contest that you're participating in.
Yeah, so the Hollywood Bowl opening act competition. So what they do is they select people to be in their competition. I was so lucky enough to be selected, and then they vote, and people vote from all over the world, and they vote, and there's like rounds. So I've made it to so many rounds so far, and I'm actually in the top 5 at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, So the voting ends for the top 5 on Thursday. So I'm at third place right now. I would love to get to first place, and then I think the organization chooses from there out of the top 3, or I think they take the
Hmm.
first from different categories and then decide who will open up for a bunch of amazing artists that they haven't released the list yet, but it's going to be at the
Hmm.
Hollywood Bowl next year. So that would be an amazing opportunity. So anyone listening to this podcast, please vote. The link is in my bio and on my Instagram and Facebook. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so based on the name, I'm assuming it's in Hollywood. California. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, at the Hollywood Bowl there. So I love California. I was there a long time ago.
Mhm.
The last time I was there was I think I was 10,
Mm.
and I really wanna go back, so that would be the perfect excuse to go back.
Yeah, yeah. I wish you all the best of luck. Do you know who are you opening for? I'm guessing it's a pretty big name, musician, artist.
Yeah, so I don't think they've released the list yet, but it's usually 3 or 4 big names, which is really cool because the organization is in support of suicide prevention,
Oh
so
wow.
that's what the funds would go to,
Hmm.
from the concert. But last year, I don't think maybe they did it last year or it was the concert before COVID, but it was um, Doja Cat, who else? The Weekend,
Hmm.
pretty big names like that. So I don't know who it will be this year, but big names for sure.
Hmm. And it may not necessarily be a country folk artist, or it may even be Taylor Swift
Yeah,
herself. I know. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, if it was Taylor Swift, I'd lose my mind. I don't know how I would.
yeah. So again, I wish you the best of luck. So, final question. So I know that, from the outside point of view, at least this is a misconception that I used to have, is that the creation of music, especially for singer-songwriters like yourself, it's a solitary act. You sit with a guitar and you strum a few notes and chords, and you have some lyrics in mind, and then you do it over and over again, and you've got a song or two. But as I've met musicians like yourself and many others, I find that it is a very much a collaborative process. There are musicians and non-musicians involved in the process of creating music too, as we've
Oh
discussed.
yeah.
So tell me about how some of these supportive people who've been in your life, and I guess how they've helped you be where you are today.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That collaboration is the key in the music business, really. Um, the key for support and success and all that stuff. So I gotta say, my band is they support me so much. They are a reason why I succeed and why we succeed together. Um, I'm playing with Darren Brown on the guitar. He's my electric guitar player, and he's so talented. He's my godfather, and
Mhm.
working with him since I was just a little kid, So it's great to have someone so close to the family in the band. Um, and a couple other members of my band are Elliot Dix, he plays the drums, Jill Porter, she sings background, and Josh Ward on the bass. So they're just such amazing people, and they really support me in every way they can. Just having a great group of people behind you at whatever show you're at really helps.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, thank you very much, Paige, Penny, for being on this program. Thank you for sharing your gifts to the world over. Um,
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
yeah, you're welcome. It's an honor. And do take care of yourself. And I wish you the
Yes, you
best
too.
with your future shows and recordings.